Welcome back to the Doc and Diana Show. I am here with my Aldi starter kit. So make sure that if you're going to Aldi's, if you've never been, you got your quarter for your cart and you've got your own bag because they're not going to provide them. So you got to have your shopping bag so that you can bag your groceries. They do have some boxes if you want to put them in there, kind of like Sam's. But that's pretty much what you need to get started. We're gonna go in and find out what kind of deals they have. I've got a couple of ideas for what I wanna do. It's getting colder, so I've got soup on the brain and I'm gonna see what we can find to put us together a soup. All right, so my first ingredient that I'm looking for, I've got celery, which is on the Dirty Dozen, so I wanna make sure it's organic, and according to this, I have found organic celery. So I'm gonna get a package of this at $1.99. Cabbage is going to be my next ingredient I'm looking for. Cabbage is not on my Dirty Dozen, so I don't have to have organic, which is a good thing because they don't even have that as an option here. So I'm going to grab me some cabbage. I just need one head of it for $1.99. For the pillow pound soup, I actually need, it says 2 cans of diced tomatoes. You can also get whole tomatoes and just chop them up once you get them out of the can. And then you are going to want the juice with that. So you're not going to drain them, you're going to pour it all in. I'm looking at the options that I have here. I've got just diced tomatoes, 1 can, 14.5 ounces, 69 cents. Or what I'm going to do is actually go for the bigger size, get 1 can, and go for the organic. One thing that you want to look for with your canned, veggies and canned goods is you want to make sure that the can itself, the container that it's in, is BPA free. I'm not specifically seeing that labeled on here, but when we're talking about balance, I'm here at the store, I am choosing organic over, just the regular, and so we're going to call this a win, and we're going to get the organic diced tomatoes and add those to the cart they're actually $1.85. Bell peppers are the next ingredient. It calls for 2 green ones. I want to have more color in my soup, so between the cabbage and the celery, I've got a lot of green. I do now have red tomatoes, but now I'm going to get to throw in some yellow. So I'm going to go ahead and get these. They're packaged. They are organic. So I'm going to grab these, and I'm looking for the price. There we go. All right, so for $3.49, I'm going to get my organic bell peppers. So far they are the most expensive thing. 3 large onions are also in the recipe. I can tell you right now, Doc absolutely hates onions. He may not be able to find his shoes, but he can find 1 tiny sliver of onion in anything. But for the sake of the video and letting you kind of know price, I'm going to go ahead and grab them, and then I'll donate them to someone else and let them use them. It looks like I've got sweet onions for $1.69, and I've got just regular onions, $1.89. Red onions are also going to come in at $1.69. White are at $1.89. So I'm just going to go ahead and go for the $1.69 and help me out with my budget. So grabbing sweet yellow, and that's pretty much all the ingredients I'm going to need fruit, veggie, produce wise. And let's check out what my base is going to be. The pillow pound soup actually calls for just a water base, and then your flavoring comes from your veggies and your tomatoes that you put in. I can't help myself. I've got to put a little bit of broth. So I'm going to put in the low sodium chicken broth and then cover the rest with water. So I could have all the nutrients and things from the broth plus the flavor. So for $1.89, I can swing it. I am going to fix dinner for my family. Pillow pound soup. I'll talk to you more about that here in a little bit. But everything was $14. When you're done getting checked out, you've got a nice little ledge to go to. So I've got my bag and all my goodies, and now I am going to bag them up and get out of here, get home, and start making my soup. When you're done, you take your cart back, you put it up, and you've got a choice. You can either lock it back in with this mechanism and get your quarter back, or you can pay it forward. Leave your quarter in. I usually just leave it. Welcome to our kitchen. Today we are going to be making the pillow pound soup. I got everything I needed for $14. Did that at Aldi's. And now I'm going to be doing the chopping and putting it together. Soup, of course now it's soup weather, number one, but soup is an extremely flexible meal. So I recommend it. You can put just about anything you want in it. Just cover it with water and let it boil. Throw in your favorite spices. Today for Pill-A-Pound, I'm going to be following the actual traditional recipe. There's a couple of different versions, and then of course with the flexibility you can modify it to fit and tailor to your nutritional needs, your palate, your family's pickiness, pretty much whatever you need to, and we'll talk about that along the way. But for today we're going to do the traditional one. This soup has been around since about the 1950s, if you look at the history of it. It experienced a resurgence in the 90s because it was printed in Cosmo magazine and GQ, touting the weight loss benefits. One thing I want you to be sure to take note of is, while yes, Pill-A-Pound, you can lose weight on this potentially, the whole method behind it is that cabbage is considered a negative calorie food. So in order for your body to break it down, you actually burn more calories than is contained in the cabbage that you eat. So that's the concept behind the Pill-A-Pound, is that you'll eat and you'll be satiated, you'll be full, you'll have your meal, and then your body is actually working harder and burning more calories to break it down and get to the nutrients that's in it. So let's chop it up. The original application of Pill-A-Pound soup, whenever it was kind of used in the 50s for the original application, it was used to actually help patients who might be considered overweight, to help them lose the pounds they needed in order to undergo heart surgery. So if you look at the American Heart Association website and see their kind of take on the Pill-A-Pound soup, of course, it's not recommended for long-term use. So while there are nutrients, it's not going to give us a lot of variety, and our body is going to require other nutrients. So it's really only recommended for about 7 days. Many do report losing some weight on it because of the cabbage concept and burning more than you are taking in. But then after that 7 days, of course, we're going to want to start adding variety back into our diets for health reasons. Our bodies require variety in our nutrients to function and power all of our physiological needs at that biochemical level. One of the other things to consider as far as benefits are concerned, weight loss and that kind of concept is fantastic, and many people do reap those benefits. But above that, this is a great idea for someone who may be trying to transition into a different kind of eating lifestyle. So oftentimes we see a lot of patients and clients that they're eating what we would consider the SAD, so the standard American diet. And you just have a lot of the high processed, think your fast food, lots of sugar, chemicals, that kind of thing. And it's hard. It can be difficult to break those habits and get away from some of those cravings. And this soup could help do that. Transition you into a more whole food arena. And you're full. So you can pretty much eat as much as you want. Because that cabbage, you're just going to work super hard to burn it and get to those nutrients that are in it. Another reason why we don't stay on it very long is because our body, in the produce, the fruits and veggies that we eat, we have what we call phytochemicals. So everything that's a different color, those different colors will represent different phytonutrients. And of course, we're going to want a variety of them in our body because they're all going to do different jobs. So for instance, when I was looking at the original recipe, it called for green peppers. Well, I already had green cabbage and I had green celery. And so color makes me happy and I want to eat the rainbow. So I ended up getting my yellow and my red peppers. Now everything except the onions and the cabbage, so my peppers and my celery were organic, but I washed everything in my Thieves veggie wash. So everything's been rinsed and washed. I mean, you never know what's happening in transport. So I went ahead and washed everything, got everything cleaned up. My cabbage takes up quite a bit of room, but I'm not worried about that. It'll wilt down real nice once I get it covered with broth and water. So that'll work out just fantastic. Another benefit to me and my family in order to utilize this soup is this is going to be a great way for me to get Doc to get some veggies in. So the next time you're in the office, ask him about his love for the cellulose crunch of veggies, and I'm sure he'll be more than happy to share that with you. All right, so I've got my peppers chopped up. It's time for getting my celery done. I know I mentioned phytonutrients, and honestly, one of the best things is to just try to get your colors in. You can make it a game. I actually have some really cool charts that you can bubble it in so you can keep track of what you've eaten. Kids love to do this. Plus it gives you some actual suggestions over to the side. So if you are pulling a blank and you can't think of foods that are that color, that takes the guesswork out of it and gives some suggestions. Some other things, of course, with this one, it helps us to have some options. So it also gives us a list of some options under each color. Then out to the side, it gives us the actual benefits. So you can kind of keep getting those connected in your noggin as you are shopping. Not only that, but we all get in food ruts. And if we're thinking of color and trying to incorporate more into our diet, then it can also help us with variety and help get us out of those ruts. You know, we learn about new foods and we learn about how to prepare them. This has made me try star fruit and some different things, jicama, things that I wouldn't normally go and seek out. And because of this list and trying to switch things up and give that variety, I'm actually doing that and helping to branch out the palate of my family as well. So just some suggestions. Eating the rainbow, I do not mean Skittles. I mean the produce and fruit section. So get your colors there and get all those phytonutrients in. So I have all my celery done. All of my veggies that needed to be chopped for mine are chopped. Now you will probably continue on and do your onions, but as I have already mentioned, Doc would not appreciate that. So onions are not going in mine. I will be donating these to a lucky family member. And then of course I have all my leftover scraps, which because of all of the sustainable living and things that we're trying to do, my chickens are gonna get a treat tonight and they get all of my scraps. Now with anything that is good, even in the wrong doses, can actually be toxic or bad. And this is really no different. So again, we mentioned 7 days, and then the body is going to need a variety of other nutrients that this is just not going to contain. Another factor when we talked about soup being flexible, you need to know what makes your body happy and what agrees with you. At Revolution, we actually have a lab that helps a lot of our patients discover if they have food sensitivities. So if you have gotten that lab or are choosing to get that lab, that can also help direct the ingredients that you would want to use or want to avoid. Sometimes we find out that maybe our patients have a nightshade intolerance because of the higher levels of lectin And then they can have this histamine response, which means that they're going to have an inflammation response. And so trying to avoid that, then you can use that lab list of foods to avoid. And then you just stay away from them and you don't add those into any of your soups. Another thing, I was thinking as I was shopping, mushrooms. Mushrooms would be a great addition to this. And, if you practice a meatless Monday, then this would be a great recipe for that night. You can, as you continue to use this soup and kind of rotate it in through your recipes, you can add meat. So, I can imagine adding some sauteed lamb, some stew, lamb chunks, or even just grass-fed stew meat. Could be great. Grass-fed, ground beef, ground turkey, all shredded chicken. So there's a lot of variety that you could use with this. You will probably start edging out of the peel a pound, but you'll have a great soup base. You will have some amazing colors in it because you're going to play with that, and you can always add the meat of your choice. One of the other downsides that you might want to be cautious with whenever you are preparing this, the whole kind of pill a pound concept, sodium is going to creep up on you, so make sure that your ingredients, your spices, if you use a broth, the broth that you're using, you want to make sure that you're keeping that sodium level down, so that your body's not going to hang on to water to try to dilute that out. That would be my only other suggestion with it, is watching that sodium content. And just on a side note, kitchen rules in general for cooking, guys, be happy with your tools. It makes the experience so much better. So I'm using a couple of my favorites. Of course, I have my waste basket, but my enamel covered Dutch oven cleans up nice. It heats thoroughly and maintains that heat throughout. So once I get it all covered with the liquid, I can put the lid on that and it'll keep the heat trapped in real good and wilt down and simmer down those veggies so that they don't have that cellulose crunch, and Doc won't, throw a shoe and be upset. My knife, I love my knives. So Cutco, keep them sharp. And then you don't dread having to do the chopping because it's really, really easy. So worth investing in. Guys, just piecemeal it, okay? We want to eat healthy on a budget. So plan it out and just replace piece by piece as you can. And they last for a very long time. So keep that in mind as well. One last thing I'm going to add before I completely cover it with my liquid is a little bit of oregano. So I'm going to put some oregano in mine, and then I'm going to move it over to the stovetop before I completely cover it with water, because the other kind of downside about the cast iron enamel covered Dutch oven is it can get heavy. All right, we are stovetop. I've got the burner on high. I'm going to let that get to a boil and wilt down that cabbage before I turn it to a lower heat and put the lid on it and let it set. Start it up a little bit and we're going to let it go. All right, so I turned the heat to simmer and it's been simmering with the lid on for about 20 minutes. I'm going to need to leave mine on a little bit longer. Just basically, you can cook this down. Once you've got it to a boil and you turn it to simmer, you can leave it on just to your liking. So it's your preference on how crunchy you still want your veggies. If you want them mushy or crunchy, that's totally up to you, and that's going to determine how long you will end up leaving yours on to simmer. Basically, guys, we did it again. We've got another healthy meal on a budget. This one ran us $14. Sustainable living does not have to break the bank. Basically, you can support your health and your bank account. This recipe you can find on my Pinterest board. I've got a soup board and you can find it there. I found, of course, like you will find if you go out looking, several different variations. So I've got two that I pinned. So you can take a look at those. Be sure to just follow me on Pinterest and see what new recipes I'm finding. Choose a board and go for it. Definitely want to give a shout out to the Facebook follower and the subscriber that recommended us give Aldi's a try, and want to give a shout out to the friend who recommended the Pill-a-Pound soup recipe. So thank you guys for that. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with your friends. Don't forget to leave a comment. We love hearing from you, and we do listen.